Oh, I should record too. I'm going to remember to do it for once. Yay. Recording.
All right. Let's see. I think we're
Oh,
heading to YouTube land.
I guess you've just got to give me permission to record if you don't
I
mind.
should
Record too. We're going to remember to do it for once.
Hang on one sec. I'm trying to do too many things at once
Oh, sure.
from a technological standpoint.
We can't blame Mercury retrograde anymore,
Well, we kind of can because we're still in the shadow.
are we? A little bit. Yeah, one more degree and then I think we're out of it.
Yeah,
Or two
we're still
more.
in the shadow.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Welcome. It's Madelaine and Amalia. Madelaine, I do think you already have the ability to record. If you don't, I'll send you the recording. For
Okay.
those
Yeah,
of
I
you
keep
who
showing you recording it, but that's okay. You'll
For
just
those of you who are joining us live, thank you for being here. I am Amalia Natalio, joined by Madelaine Parker, and we are going to share with you the Taurus New Moon astrological forecast. Madelaine and I were talking before we went live about how bumpy the Scorpio full moon energy has been. I have had many people, many people reach out saying, what the F is going on? What's happening in the cosmos? I don't understand. And I keep pointing people back to the replay of the Scorpio full moon forecast. So if anyone is feeling that, because we still have another week or so before the new moon, go check out the replay of the Scorpio full moon. It might give you some answers, give you some clarity, understanding around what's going on with you, and maybe help clear the way for the new moon energy that's coming in on May 7th at 11:22 p.m. Eastern. So for some folks, depending on where you are, it may be on the 8th. And it's going to be at 18 degrees 1 minute in the sign of Taurus. And I was looking at the chart for this new moon, and I was tuning into the energetics of where we are and where we're going. And one word keeps popping up for me in my life and with my client work, which is always to me an indication of the energy that's around, because it's swirling around a lot of people. And coming into this Taurus new moon, the word values or value really strikes a chord, because Taurus has a lot to do with your values. Taurus is ruled by Venus, and Venus is one of the key words of Venus is values. Taurus is values, and also what's valuable to you. Taurus is relates to material goods. It also relates to the earth, to agriculture, to the financial markets. So there's also a feeling of people looking for a sense of stability and security. So coming through that Scorpio emotional water, looking for a place where you feel like, okay, can I get my feet on the ground underneath me where I feel solid? Because when you're in the Scorpio waters, you're feeling like, ooh, I don't know, this has been a lot. And some people have been in some white water where it's like swirling. Oh gosh, I'm getting all excited here, swirling around, and it's been really challenging. So the energetics that I'm feeling right now for this Taurus new moon, some keywords: security, stability, values, change. So in order to find that sense of stability, there may be areas of your life where an acceptance of change is important. And to be able to seek a sense of security and safety inside, and then the outside will follow. And, I feel like that's something that we're constantly being invited to do. But right now in particular, it feels really resonant. We have, and Madelaine will be showing us the chart here in a bit, but what really struck me is we still have all these planets, most of them. I mean, Pluto's a little out there, but we still have a lot of planets clustered together in, let's see, in Pisces, Aries, Gemini, and or Pisces, Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. So they're all hanging out together. And we have Venus, Jupiter, Uranus, the sun, and the moon conjunct during this new moon. So there is a lot of personal planet energy involved in this new moon. And with Venus, we're looking at we're looking at beauty. You know, with Venus and the sun, it's the masculine and the feminine. Venus and the moon, we've got a deep internal feminine reflective place. There's also Jupiter, expansive. There's a material aspect to it. Beware of, you know, with Jupiter, you can go generosity, go really generous, or you could be more selfish. And so be aware of which way you're going, which way are you leaning. Uranus is independent and unconventional, and there's surprise involved. And this may create a place for people to have a feeling of emotional freedom or emotional outburst, depending on how it's affecting you. And so we've had a lot of energy with the Uranus Jupiter conjunction in Taurus. Now we have all these planets still hanging out together with the moon, where it's new beginnings, it's fresh start. So what could you have cleared, or what has risen to the surface during the Scorpio full moon? What did you maybe complete, or what needs to be addressed before we step into the Taurus new moon, where we are literally creating a foundational structure, because that has a lot to do with Taurus, is like building something that is a foundation for the future for you. Hard work, you know, when you think about Taurus, the bull, you know, there's a sense of determination to forge this path and to enjoy life, especially since it's ruled by Venus. So I just feel like this has the potential of being a really auspicious new moon. It will require some effort and work to navigate all the energy that we're feeling, and we're in it already. And I feel like there is going to be an intensity to it, but not necessarily the same flavor that we've been feeling the past couple of weeks, which has been a bit rough for a lot of folks. So, Madelaine, I'm sure you have a lot to add to what I shared as well.
I mean, that all resonates with a lot of what I would say as well, but I will add to it.
Please do.
Yeah. I have a few little things here I can add to it, which I will pop it up on the screen to show everybody. We don't quite have anything in Gemini quite yet, but that will be soon when Jupiter transits into Gemini. So yeah, we have this cluster of planets here. So a lot of these planets, Venus, the ruling planet of this full moon, is in combustion. We also have Jupiter in combustion. Mercury will go into I'm on the full moon. Yeah, on new moon. And then we also have Pluto stationing retrograde. And a big part of this whole story is this Mercury retrograde over the ecliptical point. And so with the Pluto going into retrograde, we just had that really heavy hitting full moon in Scorpio, which would have revealed, because even though Pluto in Scorpio is the nature of the subconscious, it is the whole point of all of this, the whole point of even any spiritual work or practices or philosophies is to make the unconscious conscious. So when we have these retrograde motions, we are mixing the unconscious with the conscious. When the planet goes retrograde, we're becoming connected to the unconscious. Now, to what is unconscious, because we are actually really manifesting what is our unconscious state. That is what we're actually, so the problems, so when retrograde occurs, there's problems that occur that come up in these retrograde periods, so that we become conscious of them, especially with the Pluto squaring that last one, where a lot of people became very conscious of financial, because Pluto's all about the finances, and the eighth house, which is joint resources, financing. So a lot of people came up with sort of abundant fears of financing, money problems would show up that are causing you to have ill fate, because the point of the unconscious, the conscious, when we're unconscious, we're really at the whim of the universe, of the fate. We have no power. We're not really aware of how to navigate our fate and how to work with the stars and the planets. So when we become conscious, we can navigate our fate better. We have a so when the planets go retrograde, we become aware of the problems that are occurring in our subconscious. Now, for the last 10 or so, 14 years, we've had all the retrogrades of Mercury in fire signs. And so we had Mercury is been a long time in Aries. And it is now, as you said earlier, we're approaching that 19-degree point of the eclipse where Mercury is going to be actually past that for this full moon, new moon. It's not there right now. I think it's at 17 degrees right now. The eclipse was at 19 degrees. So what we're going to get is there was something that needed to go forward that we had unconscious problems with. Like, for instance, I'll use me as an example. During the Mercury retrograde, I went back and fixed my website because there were problems about it. There was a lot of problems. The thing about our subconscious is we tend to turn away from our subconscious. We tend to, God, I wrote this thing down about it. What do we do with this? We make it unseen. We make things that we don't want to think or know unseen. We bury them. We push them down. And then when the retrograde comes in, it throws them into our face. And especially when Pluto goes into retrograde. So, in the process of becoming more conscious of that, which is unconscious, which is our journey here, which is what we're here to do, we then create a better manifestation of the transits. So Mercury in the air fire we've all been seeking in the last 10, 14 years, a higher existence than just financial security. We've been looking for a fulfilling, meaningful life. And that's the fire energy, because fire rises up to the higher dimensions. So we're raising in consciousness because Pluto's an air sign, which is all about air is the thinking, is the mind. So Pluto being in an air sign for the next 15 years, that's why people are going to wake up, because we're waking up, we're becoming conscious of the unconscious knowledge information. So we're going to become more conscious or knowledgeable about unknown things, right? So with the Mercury going backwards, you've got to redo something, you've got to fix something, you've got to change something about the way you see things, about your perception, because Mercury is about our perception, our inner dialogue, number one, and that is what is going to determine our success. The dialogue, our internal dialogue, is all based on our perceptions, which is based on our past, which is the stories we tell that we've been influenced from, and we can't, the future is unperceivable in the sense that the story, the way that we can do cycles and we can predict the destiny and the trajectories, but the exact finite detail is unperceivable because it's never been done yet. It's like a plant that's flowering that we've never seen before. So right now with this Mercury station direct, it's a really powerful transit because it's happening on this ecliptical plane. We had to go back and fix something before this eclipse changes could commence. And we had to get over some kind of big barrier of fear that we had from that Pluto, from that Scorpio full moon, some very revealing, some very big problems that we've turned away from, that we haven't dealt with, that we got to go back and deal with. And it probably showed up in the form of a crisis or some sort of big drag. It was a big drag, okay? And we got to deal with it, right? So with a Pluto in retrograde hitting at the same time as this new moon in Taurus, hitting, as you say, 18 degrees of Taurus, a new moon there, we're going to heal. We're going to be purifying a deep and transforming, because Pluto is the energy of transformation, death and rebirth. So we're going to be going inward. We're going to become aware of the subconscious fear that is driving us to not succeed, or not towards our unabundance, towards our blocking, fear-based inner dialogue, inner stories, the stories we repeat that are based on some sort of subconscious trauma. See, what happens is this is how it works. We have a subconscious situation or fear that we don't face that actually influences our dialogue, our inner dialogue. And then the inner dialogue and those two things together create a fate that we don't want because it's based on repeating of a past. So So we get purified and cleaned of that. So this Pluto retrograde, we're going to go deep. We're going to reveal, we're going to come up to gunk in our trauma base that we've hidden, that we don't want to look at. It's, what do we call it? The ugly stuff we don't want to look at, the scorpionic,
the hidden, the shadows.
The rotting, the water that's rotting inside our subconscious and stuff. And so now with that retrograde, we had to face it, that Pluto and the retrograde, that Scorpio full moon, we had to face it. We had to see how our fear of turning away from it made us not take care of it fully. We now have to take care of it in time for this auspicious new beginnings that we're all about to plant. Now, this Mercury thing is going back and forth. It's actually digging the metaphor for it from one of the lunar mansions is literally digging a trough, like a channel or a thing to plant seeds. So we've been, and so you could use that as a metaphor with this Mercury retrograde and all this stuff. And now I'm going to talk about Mars going into Aries right now. It's a huge part of this. We've had to go back and dig a big, as it were, as Mercury's going back and forth, we have to clear the channels for the planting of these new seeds. So we had to fix something. We had to recommunicate or communicate better about something, or go back and deal with it. All that right now with Mars entering the picture here. What did we discover? We go back when the retrograde of Mercury comes in, it shows us a barrier. That Pluto, that Scorpio moon showed us a problem, showed us something that needed to be fixed, something that needed to be dealt with that we haven't wanted to deal with, which we now got to deal with and face the ugliness of that, which you could use a metaphor of, you're going to, Taurus being the field, we're going to plant, right? We're going to plant something in, we're going to plant abundance in. And the Mercury retrograde was all the bramble and the branches and the stuff that are in the way, and rocks and boulders and things that are in the way of us being able to plant them. So now we got Mars, Aries. We're going to get in there and we're going to dig out those boulders. We're going to pull them out. We're going to knock out that, that hedge that's in the way, or the wall. So right now, between now and this full moon, new moon in Taurus, we're going to be pulling out the brambles and the weeds and the things and all the stuff that's in the way. And we're digging that trough. We're planting, we're getting it, and you mentioned it, you were absolutely spot on. It's hard work. Taurus is hard work. But you know what? It's the kind of hard work we love. It's like getting our hands dirty, getting in the nitty gritty, feeling it like we're actually making traction. Because that's what, that's what feels good, is that we're making traction here. And that's what this new moon will be, a form of relief from this awful couple weeks. Trying to find trying to use more intellectually articulate, be a bit more creative than just to say hell bad, But the last couple of weeks have been really hard for a lot of people.
Yeah, they really have been. In
the realm of abundance, in the realm of fear. And the thing is that our abundance is blocked by our fears and our lower state of consciousness that we are unaware of, like really a lower state of consciousness is just simply unconscious of, shall we say, the thing that is needed to be changed and transformed in order for the abundance to come in. And it's not, we don't like it because that's why we turned away from it. That's why we hid it. That's why we were like, I don't want to deal with that big bramble bush. I'm just going to let it be there. And then it's getting worse and worse, and it's growing and it's growing. And then one day you're like, I need that field. I got to tackle that bush. So I got to chop it down. We got to cut it away. We got to do it. So literally, I would say this new moon is hitting right in the middle of us really paving this new beginning. And like you say, it's hard work and it takes some sort of strength, because Mars in Aries is physically, shall we say, giving you a lot of physical strength and power to be very physically. So there's like a lot of physical energy in this, like, you could call it busy, like I know I'm going to be quite busy doing things, but it's really like taking initiative, motivation, busting out, doing it. Because actually during this new moon, we're going to have Pluto, which Pluto and Mars rule the same part of everybody's planet of chart. So we're going to have those planets coming together. So that fear, that debilitating fear, that I don't want to say a bad word, but the bullshit that showed up in the last.
I feel like that's
we
an
were,
accurate
yeah,
description of what I mean. It's just there's
yeah,
been so much.
right. And that Pluto full moon was, I mean, sorry, that Scorpio full moon is ruled by Pluto and Mars.
Yeah.
So now whatever showed up, we now got to deal with it. We got to be action. We got to take action. We got to do it. And we got to, and here we are coming with a Pluto retrograde, which means we've made contact with, and in fact, in Pluto retrograde, I actually really like Pluto retrograde because we really do have a more fearless approach to we get over something that's been barrier, and that Mars there sextiling it. I love it. I love the Mars sextile Pluto. That's giving us a lot of courage to tackle this thing and go forward and eliminate it, get rid of that thing for once and for all, so that we can have this abundant new beginning. And this really is the first new moon after the eclipse, because the eclipse was a new moon in Aries.
Yeah.
Right? Which was, okay, if you want these great new beginnings that these eclipse promises, you got to deal with that big bush, and you got to get rid of all that bramble, and you got to move the rocks out of the way, and you got to set it up. And that's what it takes to transform the reality playing field, the earthly realm, which is what Taurus represents, which is the earthly material realm. It's pentacle in tarot. It represents money, like you said. So
I have a question for you, Madelaine. So I'm curious because this has come up quite a bit recently too within my world and others related to investing, finances, and that's has a lot to do with the Scorpio full moon, debt, other people's money, investing, that sort of thing. And so I'm kind of putting some pieces together of what you were saying about Pluto in retrograde taking a fearless approach. And so
right.
there might be situations, like for me personally, I had an opportunity to invest in a company that has a really beautiful ethical approach to human resources within companies, and to be very supportive. And it feels very kind of for the people, by the people, but but for corporations, so that you can, the people within the corporations are supported. They're able to access their benefits and things like that in a streamlined way. And I was invited to participate in this venture last year, towards the end of last year. And I really wanted to, but something held me back. And it's come back around, and I'm feeling a really strong pull to do that. And I'm feeling like it does feel almost fearless, even though there's a lot of blah, blah, blah in my ear about it too. I can feel some of the old residual energy around it, but it doesn't feel as strong. It's almost like this pull towards it, even though there are no guarantees. There's a lot of other things looming on the horizon as far as finances are concerned. But it feels like for people who might have to take a leap of faith in some way regarding money, it might just pay off. Like this might be a good time. I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
This is happening on the lunar mansion of Aldebaran, which is a very abundant, and it is good for investing. It's very good for starting new businesses energy. But, we have all these planets combust. So I would wait till they were out of combustion, maybe. But ultimately, you want to look at your chart and see how it's aspecting your chart, and investing in this is the kind of energy which one could potentially become very liberated, financially liberated through an investment. And so you want to transform, because there's something that astrology and tarot want to do for us. They want to get us out of because usually when I do a reading, especially tarot, is I'll get the first part of the reading is, what does the person think? What is the person think? And then what is the truth? And our ego doesn't let us see the reality or the truth. So which is our mind. So to be in very practical, because this is very practical, you want to be very practical about any investment you do. You want to make sure that your chart is good on that day. You've got nice trines and sextiles on that day. We've got so many planets in this particular lunar mansion, and it goes all the way up to 21 degrees of Taurus. And the sun is there. And, it's possible. I would hesitate just because of the combustion of Venus. And then maybe this could be the seedling that is planted here, which you then take further, or you plant, or let's just say you have the seed in your hand and then you go plant it. I think I would wait between making a big investment to seeing how Venus comes out of combustion, and at that point, which I don't have a date for yet, but
well, that's not that far off. I mean, she moved
10 degrees away. We got to get 10 degrees away from the sun, and it's only just gone into combustion. So it's going to take a good month or so. Let's take a look.
Well, the other thing too, it's kind of like, I feel like this is similar to retrograde planets in terms of, this is not something new that's coming around. It's something, it's like a seed that's been, it's a seed that's been held on to, or maybe a seed that's been planted, but hasn't been paid attention to, I don't know, there's a lot of different angles you could look at it. So I feel like if it was something new.
These combustion, well, it's not quite retrograde, because retrograde really would literally mean that, and we have nothing really in retrograde. So,
I'm not saying it was, but to me, it feels.
You want to watch planets in combustions because there's something you're not seeing.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason.
Yeah, I agree.
Venus, which rules investments, is invisible. So these planets are all combust together, basically, so that because usually when planets are combust, they're inactive and they are working with the sun to gain clarity, to gain, shall we say, a motive. Often you'll notice when planets are in combustion during that period, you change your mind, you become more aware of another motive or another. And again, this is per, what do we call it? Not subperceptive, a little subperceptive, or should we just say it's a little bit of calling to make sure you plant the right seed. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't rush. And again, these are stable. Like you say, Taurus is a slower energy. It's stabilizing. We're creating stability. I would say that these combust planets are slowing us down to really make, if I'm going to use this field as a metaphor, you're really going to want to find the right spots of your field to make sure you get the right sun in these areas, and just to not be hasty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So throw all that in there, but on the whole, it is very good for investments. Yes, it's on the planet of Aldebaran, very abundant. But again, you see, this is the abundance that we have waiting for us, that our ego, because that's what we talked about in the Aries eclipse, that our ego gets in the way of, gets some sort of perception, some sort of what we think is true, or what we, using our head, our mental processing comes in and messes with. So the journey here with these transits, with Mercury right now, very strong, is to make conscious the unconscious of the things that are blocking us from taking these bold new beginnings, this whole eclipse. Now we're going to start doing that. That's what this new moon is about, is planting the new beginnings that this bold Aries eclipse was initiating for us, but we didn't have our ducks in a row around yet on some area. So now with these planets in combustion, we're getting our ducks in a row, we're moving slower, we're getting a foundation going, we're getting the right soil, all that kind of stuff, slowing it down, because Taurus, the bull, and the money and everything, it is a disciplined, slow, day in, day out action of building, of practical. It's practical. That's what you want to make sure, that your new beginnings are practical. And they're going to be more long-term. This is a long-term thing. Earth energies are long-term. And like you say, foundations, practical. And, the other thing we can look at this is sort of cutting out things that are not, we're evolving towards a simpler life. Taurus is very simple too. It's like a simple life, even though it's ruled by Venus, which is all about the pleasures and the beauties. But it's that the things that are getting in our way. If we have too complex of life, we're not enjoying our lives. We're not enjoying the simple pleasures and beauties of life. So we're really restoring to a grounded, long-term, stable, or shall we say, pleasure. I mean, you know, good food, beautiful environment, healthy long-term health. Because, you know, retrograde planets in direct motion, life is as usual. Life just goes on as normal, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's healthy. So when the retrograde planets come in, things divert from the usual, and we change it so that then the normal does become healthy. So anyway, all these planets are in combustion, combustion. And I'm not sure if anything is in Cazimi, because there's a different one is Cazimi and the other is combustion. And I'm so dyslexic that as soon as I'm told that, I forget which way it is. But anyway, so we've got Mars there in Aries. We're ready to work, but at the same time, we got to be focused. When you have a stellium like this, it's all about focus. It's about very keen, focused energy where we're not screwing up, because we've learned some lessons from Mercury retrograde. And then we've got Pluto going into retrograde, which means we're connecting with our subconscious state, and we're healing, and we're really in connection with those fears that got us into these problems anyways. And we're healing that deep, dark, rotten gunk that we're running away from and not dealing with. You know, so, it's kind of like if you have, let's say you have a window in a building and the wood is kind of rotting out in the window frame. Well, instead of fixing out the wood, you just put paint on it. But the wood structure is still a little rotted underneath. Really, you got to dig the wood out and put in new wood. So that's what we're doing. We can't just, when the planets are in motion, we're just slapping paint over it and covering it up. In direct. And then in retrograde, no, you got to pull it all apart. You got to do it over. So, summarizing this new moon in Taurus, we pulled something all apart. We've ended something. We had to pull it all apart. We have to fix it. There was problems. Got to fix it. And, you know, the new moon is the new beginning of, like, for instance, you could always use the car metaphor. Let's say the retrograde, the car got broken, all problems in the car showed up, so that they didn't show up while you were driving and you got in a crash. Let's just say that happens, right? So now the planets are in retrograde. You saw that the problem is, and now you're going to go in and initiate and buy new tires or something. Maybe it was around your tires. So you got to go in, and now you're doing the Taurus energy of building it and fixing it and putting the screws in and putting the new tires on, fixing it so it lasts a lot longer, so that the car will last the next cycle.
So let's jump into Aries, Madelaine, and see how everyone will be affected based on their sun, moon, and rising.
Oh, I just want to show something really interesting, because I've been studying. I just love studying astrology, and I've been studying about Mercury. So I just want to show you something really interesting, and what we're going to look at in all the signs. So we have these 3 trigons, they're called. So because it's in 12, so we can divide the chart into 3 threes or 4 threes. So we've got this 1, 2, 3 makes a trine, and this is all relationships. So 11th house is community, like the greater community, and then the 3rd house is your intimate community, like your siblings, people, neighbors, business people that are, and then this is your one-on-one best friends, marriages, partnerships. So it's a very interesting thing. So and then we have the manifesting, the money houses, which are 1, 2, and 3, the earth. And those are your abundant manifestors. And then you get the other ones, which is air, which is communication, information. And then the last one is going to be water, which is the conscious, the subconscious, the emotions. Those are all those triads work. And so when you have these, like, for instance, Mercury is aspecting the fire houses of everybody, which wherever that falls in this whole trigon is going to impact that area of your life. So we're going to look at that, if that makes sense. Okay.
I don't think I quite follow maybe as we go along, you can give examples of what. Sure.
I'll explain it as we go. So, like, for instance, Aries, we're going to start with Aries. So Mercury is in your Aries house, which then means this is all about your identity. And so that's aspecting your other fire house is the 9th. and the other fire house is Leo. So identity of the self and your beliefs and how it impacts your friendships or because that's Leo is creative self-expression. So for Aries, they're going to have, so this new moon is hitting in their second house, but they're totally going through a major transformation in their identity, what they believe. I'm seeing this in other areas. I know what they believe, and it impacts who they are in their friendships or creative self-expression. So in other words, it impacts their identity, who they are with others and friends and groups. Okay. Even though it's kind of a relationship house, but it's more about your self-expression. So they have the stellium of new beginnings, planting new seeds in the house of financing, in the house of money. And so they've had to go through some sort of big ego crash where they now have to initiate new beginnings financially in an area that most likely busts up their identity. Most likely is shifting because they need to make this money, or there needs to be a new financial start, or they need to. So I'm going to use the field as an example. They've been growing wheat, and now they have a new belief that wheat isn't good. So now they're going to start growing barley. I don't know. That's wheat, hemp or something. I don't know. But there's a big transformation of belief, which comes because of this Mercury in the fire signs hitting in these last 10 years, evolving us to a higher way of existing because of the fire going up, which is more meaningful, spiritual and meaningful, fulfilling. So the ego got in the way of walking the more fulfilling path, which is now eclipsed from that eclipse. So now you're going to start a new financial beginning, planting seeds literally in the house of Taurus, very abundant, that your ego got in the way of, that now creates way more stability and creates, shall we say, a abundance. I mean, it's nice to have a new moon Taurus in your second house. I mean, this is a brand new beginning with finances, brand new, shall we say, way even of earning money, like a whole new way. It's because this is the birth of the new changes that eclipse is bringing. Any question? Oh, a card.
Yeah. So, well, it's interesting too, because you were talking about how Aries were they were dismantled in a way. And, when you were talking about that too, it brought me back to what I was saying early on about values, Taurus being very connected to our values and our value system. And then you have second house, which is where this is, the sun and the moon are in the second house for Aries. And the rhododendron was the flower for them. And the rhododendron has to do with kindness and compassion for yourself and a sense of steadiness. And I feel like steadiness too has a lot to do with Taurus, that steady. It can also be stubborn in a way, that Taurus bull energy. So the rhododendron is reminding Aries to be kind to themselves in terms of what they've been working through, what they've had to, as you were saying, Madelaine, dismantle in their lives, so that they can understand what's actually valuable to them to create value in their life from a financial perspective, from an interpersonal perspective, and just in a very practical way. So, and I just love the look of this flower too. It's like, it's soft, Aries tend to, it's that fire sign, but this is a little softer, but yet there's a bam, I'm here sort of look to it too. It's soft, but not necessarily subtle. There is a little bit of a look at me energy to the flower too.
Yeah, you know what? I do like that metaphor. That flower really does work for me because of that trine, that hits in their chart. That really is a belief that their ego, the belief is most likely based in low self-worth, not valuing yourself completely, and so not seeing your full potential. So something comes in here that is really, really in alignment with your full potential, that your ego have been able to perceive, as it were.
Yeah. Yeah. That feels
Yeah,
true in
valuing
general.
that second house is often about that self-value, valuing yourself, all of that.
Yeah.
Okay, Taurus. Uh, all right. I gotta still look at my wheel though. Where did it go? Okay, Taurus. Okay, so you guys, wow, so interesting. With that Mars in your 12th house and all these eclipses in your 12th house, that really is going deep down and dealing with past life traumas, past life programming, deep subconscious, the unseen, deep subconscious programming that is basically being busted out here. That is because Taurans are a little bit, they like to keep things so stable that they get bored, and so they're being really kind of busted out of that stagnancy that they've been in, that the Taurus energy likes to be in. So this is really helping them bust out of some sort of stagnancy, that fear thing that we talk about. The subconscious was sort of, I would say for Taurus, subconsciously, they're being pushed out of that stagnancy. They're being pushed, their soul wants more than it. And so with this new beginning, of course, in the first house, I mean, huge. They're, again, new identity, whole new. They've got, let's look at their fire trine here. They've got Leo in their 4th. Wow, interesting. And then their 8th. So we really are talking about like deep fears that are rooted in financing and risks and survival. And then we have it trining the 4th house, that property house. So it'd be like making them stuck. And now because that 4th house is like being stuck, it's like home living. So it's almost like they're going to move, they're going to change, complete and utter, they're going to have a transformation financially, transformation, because they're going to shake up that stagnancy, because in nature, because you can always use nature as a metaphor to relate it with those waters, that 12th house is sort of stagnancy of sort of things just settling and not moving. Like nature's always moving things around and shifting things so things don't get all cool and bacterial infected or something. So it's almost like Taurans are being moved up and unearthed, and so that they can shift into a more abundant. It's almost like the metaphor of the dirt being too impacted, so now they got to really dig it up and get air in it. So I would say for Taurans, there's a big shift, huge new beginnings for them. I mean, the beginnings that the eclipse in there, put it this way, the new beginnings that some deep fears would not allow them to initiate until after this eclipse.
Well, I would say this flower completely connects with that. Let me turn this light on so you can see it a little bit better. Yeah, I think that's better. So it's the gardenia, and gardenia activates the message of shift your perception, transform your weaknesses into strengths. And that's pretty much what you were just saying, Madelaine. And it also relates to seeing your shadow side in a positive light. I feel like all of us have been encouraged and invited to do that, but because Taurus and Scorpio are opposing each other in the wheel, there's a strong connection to that inner journey and that work, if you will, when it comes to that. And
I would think for Taurans, there's a lot of work to unstick themselves. I bet they've got a lot of work. I bet it comes with a lot of packing and a lot of, something like that. Because they've really, like, that dirt is really compacted.
Yeah. It's almost like clay, that I used to live in Virginia, and it wasn't like this dirt here in Florida is very soft, sandy. The dirt and the earth in Virginia is very compact, very hard. I mean, it's really hard to dig. And when you're planting anything, you have to remove some of that clay and rework the soil in order for it to have a solid foundation for anything to grow and thrive and live wasn't already there. So it does feel like that for Taurus. They're having to really till the soil and rework it, and like you were sharing before, clearing it out.
Some of these changes they're easy for us to talk about here on YouTube and stuff, but in reality, it's not necessarily as easy as it is to say. Let's put it that way. The
Well,
doing it is not as easy.
it never is, or rarely is, I will say.
No.
It's and when we're in it and we're feeling all of that stuff getting churned up, especially if it's connected to childhood or other lifetimes, there's so much energy around it that our mind can't even begin to comprehend, but we feel in our bodies so strongly. And then we're attempting to make sense of it when we can't.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, where at least I know I get tripped up sometimes, which is why I love things like, astrology and human design and the gene keys and even galactic astrology, because you can look at these different aspects and see how they're affecting you, and then, make informed choices and decisions based on a broader picture, a bigger picture. So, okay, Gemini.
Okay, so you guys have this new moon in your 12th house. So either traveling or a new moon in in the country, moving to the country, or because the 12th house is rural, it's away from the mainstream, it's isolated. So maybe a new beginning in traveling long distance countries. I do know a lot of Gemini who are wanting to travel. New beginnings in that, but also new beginnings in, I would say, like the literal translation would literally be planting new seeds in the country, going out into the country or going somewhere abroad or in the rural and starting a new beginning. So however let's think of ways that could look up, like you start let's look at that fire trine. That helps. So that fire trine hits your 11th, your community and people and relationships. 1, 2, 3. So that's hitting third house communication. I'm sorry, your people that are around you, one-on-one partners. So they could be changing partnerships. And there's this new beginning, perhaps in relationships and tribes, and it can always be business relationships. It doesn't have to be marriage partnerships, and initiating new beginnings, traveling abroad and doing things with partnerships involved. Collaborating, new beginning in collaborations, new beginnings in, but again, this is some kind of a deep desire, because it's something that you truly desire. It's kind of like a dream, something you've always dreamed of. You now have the opportunity to initiate. What have you got? Oh, I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, fire start working. Sorry, I had my microphone off while I was shuffling.
Oh, yeah.
So the fire start orchid reminds us to think outside the box. It relates to fearless creativity and seeing beyond what we've seen so far. And so I feel like when you were talking about the 12th house, you're taking all of that information and wisdom that you've accumulated this far, and now you're looking out. You're looking to see what is available to you. And I think that also connects with what you were saying at the beginning of Gemini, Madelaine, about the literal translation of going out somewhere and planting seed. So it is looking outside of what you know already and creating something from that place. And there's something about this flower too, that it even spreads out in a way, it's like, it's got these, these flowers that move. I don't know why I can't, because it's backwards. I'm like having trouble going, but there's movement to this. There's expansion.
Really interesting. If you look at that card and you look at the fire sign for Gemini, it's like that little yellow part at the end is their first house, and then literally the orange looks like it does the fire trine, like literally that orange.
Yeah.
Sort of fire trine. So it's like, this is the light, the revelation, because you know what? Also, the 12th house is revelations. It's almost like visions, or you get some kind of a download, a spiritual internal like drive or inspiration to do something like that. So it's cool.
That is cool. That's really fun. It's really fun. Okay. Cancer.
Okay. Okay, so you guys have this, it's very auspicious to have a new moon in your 11th house. It's a very good house to have a new moon. It's the house of joy in Vedic, they call it that, the house of, the planets are really happy there. And so we've got like really auspicious new beginnings financially involving, again, your relationship houses, because, well, your earth houses are your relationship trigon for Cancer. So this involves relationships. And but again, this is in the outer bigger community a relationship. So a new beginning, you meet new people, you meet a new tribe group or a new a whole you get see oftentimes when I see these, you can get a new relationship in your third house full moon or new moon, which then changes all the people you know because you got in a new relationship. So all of a sudden there are all these people you know that are new. And so you get into a whole different community and you have different, friends around you or local people, and then perhaps a new relationship in that seventh house, brand new beginning in a relationship. And then your fire houses are in career, and your sixth house is Sagittarius and Leo is in your, so you're basically evolving through these retrograde motions into careers and earning income in ways that that it really very much inspire you, but are, in other words, you're really manifesting a career and a work and income in ways that are very fulfilling, that are meaningful. So we're seeing these tribe and these friendships come in to support that new way that you're evolving in towards career and income. So it's very much involved around your 11th house, which is people that you're meeting. Internet, social media stuff, as well. In other words, your social, you could post something that really increases your social media for the next. You start a new beginning in social media that could really increase your notoriety or your visibility, and you get a lot more followers. And then again, though, this. Wait, what's the third house is Virgo, which impacts your income but also involves relationships. So putting all that together for Cancer really quick, new moon involving relationships that enables you to continue the journey towards a higher, more fulfilling way of earning income and your career.
Nice. Well, we have the giant spider lily for
like a lot of people.
For Cancer. Exactly. And again, it looks like it's spreading out, like you're really expanding your community. This also has a feeling of lightness and joy. And I think that you mentioned earlier, the 11th house in Vedic astrology is connected to, or it's called the house of joy or something along those lines. I think you said.
Yeah.
So there is a feeling of joy. There is a feeling of lightness, buoyancy almost. And another message is it frees your mind. 11th house is connected to Aquarius, and Aquarius is air, the mind, that mental space. You're not getting too caught up in the mental chatter. Maybe you're flowing a little differently with that opening yourself up to new community, new connections, new opportunities. So the giant spider lily.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yes. All right. Sorry, I was just tapped into something really quick there. I wanted to look at my notes on something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Back to
Leo.
Now we are Leo. Okay, Leo. So, okay, cool. So this is, again, Mercury is impacting your identity, what you believe, and friendships, I guess, how that impacts who you are and how you express yourself around friends and creative projects. So, which, similar to the Cancer thing, is impacting, now you've got this new moon in your 10th house of career. So you've got this new moon right on your MC, if you have MC 10th house, but also the 10th house is sort of the energy of the MC, which is notoriety, becoming more known, new beginning with work, becoming more known, upgrade in your, and again, these are new beginnings that now that you've cleared some kind of major fears or problems showed up during that retrograde, which you've healed and cleared, which now enable you to take some sort of, you're now more qualified, or you're now more able to psychologically handle and upgrade in your work. You're more psychologically matured. Something's matured in you. Because the 10th house usually happens upon maturation of something, of being grown up, and you've learned something now. You're ready to take this new beginning. You're ready to sort of, if we go back to the gardening metaphor, you figured out how to, like, you're not afraid to plant this particular plant anymore. Let's say that. Like, you can handle the work around it. So this is a new moon where you're going to be working hard around a career thing, but this correlates to your identity and your belief shifting, which the eclipses would have done for you, and this Mercury retrograde. And so now you're a new person. You're like, because your identity has been, somehow your identity and your beliefs are shifting at the same time, which make you able to sort of step forward and take this and really fight for this new beginning. Because of Mars being in Aries, we're really fighting for this new beginning. We're in warrior mode. We're doing things. We're not afraid. We've got Pluto sextiling us in retrograde, which means, yeah, I know that this issue is in me, and I know I've caused a lot of these problems, but I'm fixing that, and I can do it now. And Pluto is the planet of riches. So, and Earth, with Pluto sextiling Saturn's in Pisces, with that happening, it's like, there's a very strong sort of spiritual upgrade here with these new perceptions. So it's like a spiritually upgraded career. But what that would mean, one, it's more in alignment with your true calling and soul. And two, it feels like it's the right thing for the world. It has a humanitarian element to it, auspicious and abundant. We're entering with Pluto in the energy of Aquarius. It's potentially new information that's come through that enables you to believe in something and taking these new beginnings.
It's interesting. It's interesting what you're sharing though about the upgrade, the spiritual upgrade, because I feel like for a lot of Leos, they tend to be somewhat spiritual. They have a connection to the cosmos. They're ruled by the sun. Personally, I feel very connected to that. Now, granted, I don't think that's necessarily because of Leo, but there is that feeling. And there's this with Leo, it's like, you want to be out there, but yet a lot of us can be held back. And right now, it feels like there's this cosmic push to get out there. And the red bird of paradise, you can see it's so spread out. And it's also, it's reaching high, reaching up to that spiritual essence. And what I love about this card too is that it's even got the colors of Leo, the orange and the yellow and the red and the vibrancy of the fire. And the red bird of paradise activates focus, and the message is get it done. So I'm saying this to myself as well as my fellow Leos. If there's something you've been avoiding, do it. Just do it now. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. Now is the time to just get it done.
Interesting. Yeah, because remember, we were talking about that hard work. So it's almost like discipline. It's almost like facing the work that it takes. It's almost like a new career idea that comes with a lot of work that you haven't wanted to do. Like, I don't know if I want to face that work or do it. It's like, oh, there's a lot of trouble. But I think Leo, go do it. And here's the thing, because there's that energy of that fire, which is that brings us to higher, that fire brings us to higher fulfillment. Fire brings us to our more meaningful spirituality. It's very spiritual. It's the first energy in the zodiac. It's like the first spark. So it's like, that's how all of life really begins. So Leo are getting beyond their pride, as it were, and allowing these energies to bring them to a higher, like, I would think that there's a big belief shift that enables the Leo to not be afraid to reach higher.
Well, and yes, I totally agree with you. And if you are a Leo who's not necessarily spiritually minded or spiritually oriented, play in the possibility a little bit and see how that may be the pathway to a transformation in your career that's actually more in alignment with your spiritual side, your spiritual mission, the reason you're actually here. Because when you're connected with that heart-centered place, you're you will be supported and catapulted, but you also have to show that you are dedicated and devoted to that process. It can't be wishy-washy. And I feel like I can speak from my own personal journey. There has been some wishy-washiness to it. It's like, you know, I've got that motivation and let's go. And then, oh, this is really hard. Or, oh, this is getting a little like, too many people are looking, and then kind of withdraw and then go back. And so it's just stay with it, stick with it. And
yes, I like that. And also I was just thinking, I lost it. Never mind. It'll come back if it's.
I feel like it was good.
Yeah, it was.
Stick with it. It was, so I was talking about, you know, stay with.
The reason we haven't reached the reason Mercury is trying to get us to a more fulfilling, meaningful life with these fire retrogrades is so that we break the barriers of our internal dialogue that are stopping us from doing it, which is fear. And the fear of the work that it takes, or the feeling that it's overwhelming, or the feeling that if we go that way, like starting a new YouTube channel, I mean, it'd take forever, you know, let's say that. But these being emboldened with Mars there to do it, you know.
Yes.
And this new moon as well. So that might have been what I was going to say.
Well, anyway. That was good. That was good. I feel like somebody out there needed to hear it. So,
yeah.
Okay. Virgo.
I know Leo. I have my son. He's Leo rising. I know that he's probably going to start a business. It's in his chart that he runs his own business, but he has been scared to ever do that. He never feels he can financially support himself to do that. This might be the time that he decides to go ahead and release that fear and trust in his own ability to be very abundant, which he is very bright. He could do it.
Well, and I feel like that's a fear of a lot of people, you know, that they really want to go out there and do something on their own and be an entrepreneur and be self-employed. And then there's this huge fear that holds them back of, can I support myself? Can I support my family?
Yeah, because the idea of it.
Yeah. Okay.
The idea of it. Yeah, the idea of it versus the actual practicality of it are two different things.
Yes.
And this is a practical new moon. So we're finding a practical way to follow and do our new, higher, meaningful life. Okay. So now to Virgo. I don't know why I'm Mercury with this communication stuff, you know, clearing up it's all about communication here. All right. Well, speaking of which, you guys are ruled by Mercury. So you guys are definitely in the, shall we say, direct firing of or the direct shoot zone of this Mercury transits, which are causing you very much so to, let's get to your fire trine here. Your 12th and your third, I'm sorry, your 4th and your 8th. So again, similar to was it, who else had this trine here? Was it Gemini? Anyway, again, a deep subconscious fear of financial, well, new beginnings are occurring for you because you have the eclipse in the 8th house. So joint finances, resource coming in. And with this Taurus thing in your 9th house, we're looking at travel. We're looking at new beginning, perhaps in philosophy. Maybe you decide to learn astrology. Like, you know, it could take a long while before you could start earning money at it, or maybe not, depending on whether your chart supports you as an astrologer. But basically a new beginning in some sort of philosophical pursuit, some sort of higher knowledge pursuit, some sort of educational studies, or teaching. And there's a stellium there. So there's a lot of energy in that 9th house, a lot of perhaps travel. I happen to know Virgo rising, who I think is really going to deep study. And also the 12th house is a house of deep study and learning too. And these are all belief systems. You know what? Virgo are transforming their fears, or their fears in deep relationships, or fears of letting people in very deeply. Fears, because Virgo have Scorpio over their 3rd house. So they have deep fears of communication, speaking truthfully. So I would say with Virgo, this new beginning is a big spiritual new beginning, like a big new, because there would have been the fears in that in that I'm always back and forth. Am I cold or hot in this weather? We're very in-betweeny weather. Well, actually, it's a little colder than warm. But anyway, Virgo are going to be waking up to a new spiritual beginning and planting new seeds in some form of spirituality, philosophy, opening up their minds, widening their perspective. That would have, that is now because of the fear of risking, or fears of risking money. They'll probably be taking risks financially because of that Aries in their 8th house, Mars coming in there, taking bold initiative moves towards financial transformation, investing, joint resources, money, and therefore perhaps initiating travels, perhaps the eclipse. Let's just do one story. You're selling a house and you couldn't sell it. The eclipse wouldn't let you sell it because the Pluto full moon revealed that you had a lien on it, or that you had some sort of problem involved, or there was some sort of a snag in your credit that shows up that freaks you out. You didn't know it was there, and stalled the whole thing. Well, now the house, now through all of this junk that you had to go through, you now are able to fix that. The house sells, you now travel, you now go, or you move, or you travel to a new country. So we're seeing some sort of going forward from something that financially that you would have had to take some kind of changes and risks and movement on. So basically, there's some sort of new beginning that's going to offer you long-term abundance through spirituality, higher philosophy, travel, moving, the law. Even the law could, that's the house of the law. But there's going to be something new around a new belief that now enables you, or the practicality is there. In other words, the abundance is there to take a new beginning in this area.
So we have the bird's foot lotus for Virgo. And this flower gets to the root of what you might be worried about. Whatever has been causing you a feeling of discontent, it's going to help move you towards contentment. It dissolves seriousness. It's a message of take charge. And so this is a prime opportunity for Virgos to take charge. And it's got the yellow of the solar plexus chakra, that feeling of self-empowerment and knowing that you can create something that is abundant for you going forward. So the bird's foot lotus for Virgo.
And that impacts your 4th house too, Virgo, because you have fire over your 4th house. So yeah, higher, more meaningful life, which is going to be around spirituality or that 9th house. And if you're Virgo and you want to understand that more, look up the 9th house in astrology and read about all that. That's where you're going to take a new initiation that's going to increase your abundance. Okay.
Dig it. Libra.
Libra. So you guys are going to have Mars right on your descendant right now. So this could be a time where you really do end a pattern or a relationship. You're going to take a lot of bold action right now in the areas of relationships. You either initiate new relationships right now with Mars there in your 7th house, and it's bold. And again, these are relationships that are more meaningful. We are moving to something that's more fulfilling and more meaningful, because you're going to have the fire energies in those same. You're going to have the fire energy is in your relationship houses. So this is very much about evolving to a higher, more meaningful, what was the other word we were using? Fulfilling relationships. And then with Taurus will be boom in your 8th house. So new beginning in joint resources, financing, money, pulling your finances together with a joint person, or because you have the fire of this Mercury thing aspecting those 3 houses. It's most likely because the 8th house is joint partnerships or joint resources. Or if you're not in a relationship, it can also be a business partnership. It doesn't have to be a romantic. But the 8th house often is a new beginning in relationships, potentially physical, sexual, relationships, marriages type deals, and you pull your finances together. Or business partnership where you join in together, you pull your resources together, you make a joint investment together, you buy a property with someone together. Let me take a look. fire, where's your fire house? One, two, your third. Yeah. So there's a good chance you move or the people around shift because of this relationship. What else? Perhaps initiating a business with other partnerships or a spouse or a person in your life, or refinancing, selling, dealing with money, shifting money around to sort of increase these better new beginnings, like because it's in your 8th house. So some sort of money investment shifting around to make some sort of new beginning. And then that Pluto is in your 5th house. It's possible that Saturn is sextiling that Pluto there. I'm sorry, Mars is. That was, let me get back to the date here. Saturn is sextiling. What was Saturn sextiling? How did I suddenly lose my train of thought here?
Let me look.
This full moon, the new moon is sextiling Saturn.
Yes.
What was I saying? This new moon is sextiling Saturn. So there's some sort of flow and ease, going through with this kind of career, or work or things moving forward. And with Saturn in the mix, it's all, again, I keep forgetting to bring Saturn into the story, but it's really creating, it's not even in combustion. Mars and Saturn are the 2 planets that are not at all in combustion. Those are the ones that are going to be very pro-act, as it were. We're going to see that movement stronger during this period. So that sextile to Saturn is, again, these are committed, long-term things that we are either matured and ready for. So we've matured for this. Anyway, so Libra, and you're still letting go. You still got that South Node in your 1st house, which is pretty huge. You're still letting go of the ways that you've operated in the last 18 years. I mean, you're completely changing the way you are. Your identity, an old identity is going by and a new identity is coming in. And this new identity is one where you're slightly less of a go along, get along, people pleaser. You're being more authentic yourself. Okay, go ahead.
So Euphrasia tells Librans to trust yourself, follow your inner knowing, listen to your intuition, and be decisive. You don't need to make decisions based on what everyone else wants. Be decisive based on what it is that you desire. And like Madelaine said, you're letting go of these old beliefs, this old way of being. And now's the time that you can step into something new that's actually truly foundationally sound for you going forward. So Euphrasia for Libra.
They seem to always get the white flowers, I noticed.
I guess
Libra's
they're pure of heart.
Yeah, they're air.
All right. Jumping into Scorpio.
Scorpio, we're ready for Scorpio. Your ruling planet is going into retrograde and Mars is in Aries. Wow. I mean, your other ruling planet. So motivation, a lot of drive, a lot of busting through, breaking through. Basically, you guys are the ones that are most breaking through big fears that are stopping you from abundance. I mean, we just turn the volume up on this whole report and just give them a 10. You just like, they're really, really taking initiatives and bold and motivated and driven. And this is in your 6th house, Aries. And then your 7th house is a new beginning in a relationship or partnership or collaborative. And then with your fires in their 6th, 2nd, and 10th, whoa, you guys are motivated and driven to stabilize your financial income so that you have a higher, more meaningful life of more value, and your self-esteem is rising, and you are becoming less critical of yourselves. And I would say that times have been pretty frustrating for you with these planets in the 6th house, but there's a transformation occurring in your living situations, Pluto there in your 4th, but these new beginnings involve partnerships, joint contracts, abundant collaboratives, a new friend, a new friendship. You could meet your person, your true person, your divine mate. By the way, these energies in Mercury, that a lot of these astrologers that I study talk about Mercury pulling a lot of sacred partnerships together. So if you're not in your sacred partnerships, in your sacred partnership, this would be that time, because again, you know, this is right after this eclipse. This is a new beginning after that eclipse, which is really the new beginning that eclipse is birthing in our lives. That's the way the astrology works. Aries, then Taurus, then Gemini, you know, so it's like the new initiation, the breakthrough, the cutting of the ground, the new area in Aries, and then the digging in the dirt, you know, for that. And so you guys are going to see a more meaningful work environment, a more meaningful way of earning money. You're going to be very driven, very motivated. You might come up against a lot of frustrations and obstacles, but you see with Mars there, you're ready to knock them down.
Feeling that, definitely feeling that.
I'm going to call this video like knocking down the walls. Yeah.
Knocking down the walls. So we have the Grevillea for Scorpio, and the Grevillea is, I find this one so interesting because it's reaching higher, but there's all these little flowers on it. It's got this fiery, let's go kind of an energy, but it's not necessarily like burn the house down, but there's a soft fierceness to it almost. And there's this flower reminds us or encourages us to have a feeling of fearless speech, to no longer hold back because we're scared or fearful of how we'll be perceived by others. It's coming out of your shell, speaking your mind, speaking your truth, accessing what that truth is and being able to express it. So this feels so resonant for me. I feel like this is something that I've been experiencing myself. And so I feel like there are other Scorpios out there who are embracing change and opening themselves up to a whole new way of expression for themselves. And the Grevillea will be very supportive in that process. I see the wheels.
I think that is very interesting. Yeah, because that is very, very much the fire. It's almost like I would say for Scorpio, it's because that card is so fiery and so red that the most dominant experience for them right now is that fire trine in their chart, where they're really having to push through of some major barriers of fears and blocks and misperceptions, you know.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But, you know, and then we get this growth, this plant growth coming from that. So interesting.
I feel like for a lot of us right now, that is the encouragement, since we all have been going through that Scorpio full moon energy. We've all been excavating.
Yes. You know what I feel like? It's like a plant that's growing under dirt and there's a big stuck thing on top of it and it's got a bust. It's like cement, like plants that grow through cement. You look at it and go, how the hell did that little plant get through that?
Fierce determination and will.
Busting through and coming out like that, you know, growing.
Yeah.
All right.
We can do it.
All right. For Sagittarius.
Yes, ma'am.
So your guys, again, all these first house people with fire in their first house have identity, beliefs, shifts, and friendships, or who they are, as how they express who they are in the world, and becoming, well, again, a new beginning in your sixth house, which means a brand new beginning with work, a new beginning in health routines, day to day. If you're not working and you're retired, this would be a brand new beginning where you start becoming much healthier. You take on a new eating habit and you quit sugar, and you become more healthy, or a health issue shows up that motivates you to take a new beginning. And this is going to help you for the long haul. And then we get, but this fire energy, it's possible that like a lot of Sagittarians perhaps have a wake up, because remember, these fire energies are trying to progress us to a more meaningful and fulfilling life. So it's possible the Sagittarius are opening up to a way of operating more healthy and a new belief system, for instance, changing their beliefs around food. They become more conscious of diet and start taking vitamins. I sent my son a bunch of vitamins. He's Sagittarius sun, so he's becoming more conscious of what he's eating and how to eat. These new beginnings that establish your health, because when you have a new beginning in that sixth house, it doesn't look like a big deal, but you don't realize that the new changes, the new beginnings you make are really creating a very strong foundation for your health for the long haul. Now, it could be a new work or a new job that is healthier, that is less frustrating, because the sixth house comes with frustrations, and it's one of these challenging houses, the sixth house. So I would say a new identity opens up. You're releasing an old identity. You're letting go of an old identity that's been holding you back from a fulfilling life. And so now you're coming in with this new beginning, a new birthing thing that opens up your health, that feels more stable, that feels more calm, that feels more practical, as we say. Big word, practicals. Sagittarians ruled by Jupiter, very impractical. It's terrible. So they're becoming more practical, realistic, a new realistic beginning of making money. Realistic. That's a good word to use. All right. What do you got?
Okay.
Don't forget, Sagittarians, your planets in combustion. Just be patient. Everything will be all right. When planets are in combustion, it doesn't mean you're going to be together. It just means there's a slowing down of the manifesting so that you do it right. Go ahead.
Okay. We have the navel orange blossom for Sagittarius, and the message is, it's good to be alive. You mentioned in, I think, the last sign about breaking down, like busting down walls, breaking down walls. Well, this literally speaks to that. You're breaking down the walls inside of yourself to allow for something new. So that could be related to your day-to-day work. That could be related to your health. That could be related to how you engage within your daily practices or whatever that is. And there's a feeling of inspiration here. So you might be inspired to try something new, or inspired to go to that gym or to see that holistic practitioner or whatever it is. So the navel orange blossom, and even with this, there's a purity in the center, and then all the leaves branch out. It's really coming back into that center of self, and then exploring and creating and healing and growing from there. So navel orange blossom.
Yeah, and the Taurus is a green, earthy color, so usually it's represented by the color green. So it's almost like it's a new job, a new practical job. And there's that fire energy behind it, which creates a more meaningful, fulfilling life.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Hey.
Beautiful.
All right, we like that.
All right, Capricorn. I am really looking forward to this for Capricorn.
Yeah. So, okay, new beginning in a creative project. If this is great, you've got Taurus over your fifth house. So some sort of new creative project is coming in and is bearing fruits, is a new beginning. And then you've got Aries over your first house. So there's some sort of living situation or some sort of problems around living or home or family or mother that have had to be overcome. Mercury retrograde there. And clearing problems around family and but now there's like a new birth, a new beginning. And then also you may be driven to move or to change your living situation, or feel very motivated to change a situation around. I happen to know Capricorn who's doing that exact thing, because of the expansion of a creative project comes in. So then what else? So these fire houses hit your 11th, your 8th, and 4th. So it's financial investments around property, real estate, and then perhaps you meet someone new that offers you a new place to live. But things are, because of this Mercury retrograde hitting all these fire signs, it's like this. We're going, we're like reverberating up. And so these situations, those 4 houses are going up, up. So better living situation, better friends, better better acquaintances, new tribes of people, new networking. Perhaps you find a new place to live through a person you meet. You hear of a really wonderful place to move to. But basically for Capricorn, and your ruling planet is not in combustion, so things are really great for you as far as steadily movingly along. Although Saturn does go in retrograde, I think June or somewhere soon, so prepare you. So you're really establishing a new living situation that's higher, more fulfilling, new friends, new associates, and then some sort of creative new beginning with a creative project. Or you are a young woman and you move home and you get married and you have a child. You get, potentially get pregnant, because you've got to always throw that in there with a new moon in Taurus in that 5th house.
In the 5th.
These are new beginnings that are not just ideas. These are doing it, practical work. So it's like in motion, it's happening, it's manifesting. Go ahead.
This is one of my favorite flowers, the bird of paradise. And so the bird of paradise for Capricorn, it's a reminder to quiet the mind, connect to the heart, and act from there. Take action from that place. And it also has to do with connection. So you're connecting your mind and your heart. You're connecting with other people. You're connecting within yourself. And so a beautiful place to begin would be to meditate. Because through the process of meditation, you are connecting with your heart. You are quieting the mind. You are allowing yourself to connect with yourself in a whole new way. And then look at the beauty that can be created from that. Because the bird of paradise starts out with just this. This part on the bottom is all you see until it decides to blossom and bloom and then really branch out into the beautiful flower that it becomes. So I feel like this is such an opportunity for Capricorns to be their practical disciplined self and create something from the heart, from this bud at the bottom, and then branch out.
Yeah, because this is a new beginning in their 5th house, which is the secret to Capricorn success, is to be creative. Wherever you have Taurus in your chart is a real big indicator how your most abundant can be, where you can really attract a lot of abundance through that house. And for Capricorn, it's a creative house. So creativity is always going to be a blessing and so this is a new creative beginning of some sort. That's cool.
That is cool.
And I like that flower. Can I see it for 1 second again? It was that green.
Sure.
So there's that green leaf like you were talking about now sprouts this. So it's almost like for Capricorn, this new beginning is really not as earthy. It creates some sort of earthy or financial support to create a creative project, that creative expression.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so cool. I just love that flower. It's just it's just fun. It's just a fun flower. Okay, Aquarius.
You guys have Pluto right on your ascendant. I'm reading for a couple of Aquarians right now. If Pluto's on their ascendant, I'm like, it's okay. It's better in the energy. Although Pluto's in retrograde, so some of the issues that Pluto on your ascendant is bringing up is going to come back to be looked at. And so, because I have a couple Aquarians quite a few Aquarians actually have Capricorn over their 12th house. So they tend to have past life trauma around government or powers of the government wiping them out or ruining their lives, things like that. So they have this real fear. I sometimes, it percolates in me as well.
Yikes.
But they're being very empowered because the Aquarians are the ones that are going to lead us into the new age, the new earth. So they're the ones that are going to get that fear robbed out of them the most. And we manifest our fears. We create them. So Pluto, things are going to show up, and you're going to, this time, because this is the last time Pluto is in retrograde, into the Aquarius, hitting into the Capricorn area. So your Capricorn house where you have these fears trigger up again. And so now what happens is, this is the last time. Whenever you get these retrograde planets, the last time is you're done, you're cooked. You don't have, the fear is like, haha, very funny, right? So then, so you've got your fire houses, your third, Capricorn, 11th and 7th. So relationships shiftings and higher, more fulfilling relationships coming in. But also you're going to be it doesn't mean you change your relationship. It could also mean that you evolve in your relationships and you pull out higher, more fulfilling, they transform into higher, more fulfilling relationships, the ones that are supposed to be in your life. But now this new moon in your 4th house, you can either you redo your house, build a house, plant a garden, because the 4th house can be gardening and outdoor stuff, family, home things. A new beginning in a family. You start a new family, a new beginning. Again, it could be pregnancy or a new beginning in a new home. You move. Now you're going to have that Aries energy in your 3rd house with that Mercury retrograding going back and forth there. So it's all around communication. You're thinking. Big problem for Aquarius. And everybody has this, of course, but right now with this eclipse in your 3rd house, you're really ending some patterning of seeing things and perceptions. And I have noticed sometimes with Aquarians, and we all do, it's just the volume is up for them because they've got their planets there right now. We all have these problems where our perceptions misinform us of to the really what's happening and the inner dialogue. So for them, particularly, these eclipses are improving their storytelling, their inner storytelling, so that they can live in a more meaningful life and to not be held back by opinions and their thinking that is a naysayer, or that will tend to see, because they're ruled by Saturn, so they tend to be pessimistic. Anybody ruled by Saturn tends to lean a little on the pessimistic. So they're probably being, as it were, evolved out of a pessimistic way of seeing something so that they can progress.
We got the pink lotus and
Nice.
being in the mud. I feel like I know a number of Aquarians who've just been in the mud. They are ready to blossom. They're ready to bust through, but they're not quite there. And you were talking about that eclipse energy. There are some things they're just not seeing. And it's this divine wisdom, time to look within themselves. An opportunity for spiritual insights and understanding are here for them right now. And this new moon in Taurus is going to give that to them. It's going to give them that opportunity to see that. It feels very, if you think about the mud, it is literally earth. Taurus is earth. Mm-hmm. It is really connecting to that divine earthy wisdom. So I'm just being guided for Aquarians, get outside and literally maybe hands in the dirt at springtime, plant some flowers, go walk on the beach. If you live in a place like I do, go walk on the beach. The weather's getting warm, go walk outside on the grass, like really connecting with that, the earth will allow you maybe to access that divine wisdom within and find that spiritual understanding and insight that you've been yearning for.
Yeah, I think that that new moon in their 1st house, they're most likely going to move. And with what you were saying, it's like, I mean, that getting outside, getting outdoors, you could also equate it to just sort of busting out of the way they've been living, or because these areas, basically some perception needs to be broken through so that they can move to the place that they're supposed to move. But there's some sort of perception that has to get, bashed away by these goings on, as it were, so that you could then make the move to somewhere that you're supposed to move to, basically.
Right.
But yes. And of course, with Taurus, outdoors in May is wonderful as spring, flowers, everything outdoors. It's a good month to be outdoor for sure. Yes. I am totally waiting to get outdoors. It's like, look at the weather here. It's so birdsy.
Beautiful.
I know. Okay, so now we're ready for Pisces. I really hope we get good news for Pisces here. Well, what's interesting? There is good news for Pisces because you're going to have this new moon in your 3rd house. So basically, Pisces, Pisces are some of the most it's the most challenging sign. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. It really is. Mostly because of perceptions, and they're ruled by Neptune. So it's like they kind of are foggy in their perceptions, but if they have one, it tends to be, talk about pessimistic or doomsday, la, 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 right? So this new moon is going to hit their third house. New neighbors, new people around you, new beginnings around, perhaps short distance travel. I would forget to throw that in there, but new beginnings with your neighbors or people that you work with or siblings, a new beginning. And again, remember this is all under the umbrella of work, creating abundance, planting. Like if we were going to, Taurus, the earth sign involves food and money. It's the same energy, right? So you're creating new abundance around something local around you, people near you, new beginnings, working collaboratives, a new business, or you start a website, new communicating, you start a blog, you start writing. Like you and I, when we started this thing, it was probably one of us had a new moon in the third house, like a new collaborative. You could start a website or a blog or internet or a business or method of communication or writing project. But then you've got this eclipse in your second house, and there is a problem in your income and your earnings that these eclipses are transforming in you. And so some sort of problem that's showing up around your financing and your money is now going to become fixed, as it were, through that third house, new moon, new beginning, a new job, a new, that is a work house too. It is a work house. So, and you know what, that's going to really relate to the eclipse in your second house, because now we get the changes in your finances that the eclipses were bringing. So some opportunity comes in that in forward progresses the changes that the eclipses are occurring in your second house. So now here is the seedling, the birthing of that new beginning, which is going to fund you and finance you. And again, now Pisces are always creative, and you know that second house is a creative house. So there's some sort of a transformation around your creativity, your creative expression or something, and it becomes more practical. Like for instance, my Pisces is a musician rising. So perhaps he gets involved with a writing project with groups and he starts making music, and it's a very practical, sellable way. Like it's very practical. That's a really good, actually, you could write music with someone that makes you money, or some kind of a second house, third house relationship. Now with the fire houses being for you in your eighth, no, wait, we got Aries, Leo, is that over your, yeah, Gemini, Leo's. They put the signs right in the middle. I like it right on the house because I get confused. So Pisces, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer. So you have Leo over your sixth house. So yeah, so there's some sort of relationship between income, money, and work. And then you've got Sagittarius over your 10th house. So it's almost like some sort of perception, lack of practicality has stopped you from reaching a height in your career that is going to liberate you and give you your meaningful, fulfilling life. So this new moon is some sort of practical way of operating, which is going to make the changes in those three houses of your career and income and work that brings you a lot of auspicious future income, but it is around somebody involving local people around you or a new business. Like you could consider it entrepreneurial, but because I would consider it to be more of a collaborative with people that are around you, or a writing or communication or some kind of a project like that then gives you the changes that eclipse was going to bring you in your second house.
So this flower it feels like it's very connected to the essence of Pisces in terms of how they perceive themselves within the world. And it's the Hong Kong orchid. And the Hong Kong orchid is a message for Pisces to accept themselves, to love themselves, to feel comfortable within themselves. And be able to express themselves. So where I feel like that's where the creativity comes in. That's where the expression comes in. That's where, maybe with their words or their art or their music or whatever it is that their magic is to be birthed from a place of really, truly accepting who they are, where they fit into the world, and being able to express it themselves.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
this flower too, it is that it does feel like expression, but because it blends, it's not this in your face expression. It's more this subtle, I'm being me expression. And, with Pisces, I feel like they're not, everyone loves to be acknowledged and recognized, but that's not what it's about for them. It's a deeper, more meaningful motivation. So
Yeah. Well, what's interesting about that flower is that the Pisces are probably the least practical people, and look at how tiny, tiny bit. So we just need a little more practicality from our Pisces here
yeah.
to take off. That's all they need, just a little more practicality. But also it's in your thinking because it's in the third house. So there's some be more practical thinking.
Yeah. There's some,
Well,
there's some good stuff, I think, for all the signs, for everyone to reflect on, to embody, and Taurus too. I mean, it is about the pleasures of life. It's about the sensual, tactile nature of life too, with that Venus rulership. So, nurture yourself, take care of yourself. This would be a great time to have a picnic in the park, and bring that cushy blanket, and bring that bottle of wine, and bring the yummy nibbles, and really luxuriate in this beautiful, bountiful life that is available to us, and create from that place.
yeah, it's so funny because it's that is the Taurus energy, which is sort of, chill and slow and relaxing. And then we've got Mars in Aries, which is like the opposite energy. It's like get a lot of stuff done and break through things and break through that barrier and then sit down and enjoy the cheese. And
Yeah, exactly. Because it isn't that what it's all about in general, is the balance of the two, the action and the inaction, the push and the pull, the go and the stop, and finding that balance.
yeah, because the plants can't grow in movement. Plant if things are moving, the dirt's moving around a lot, like watering, and plants don't grow in that. The dirt has to be stopped for the plant to grow. So that's why Taurus is this slow, non-moving, staticky type of energy, so that things can grow in it. So,
Right. Yeah, we're
stabilizes in our lives in whatever house we have Taurus, so that something can grow. That's the last little message there.
I think that's a beautiful final message. And we thank you all. Let me pop over to YouTube really quickly and just see if anyone has any questions or comments, or if anyone,
May I mention something now? Is this a good time?
yeah, I don't
A
know.
lot of people in my community watch this. They come up to me and tell me. So I'm just going to inform everybody. I'm going to be talking more about this at the Gardenia Center this Sunday at 10 a.m.
Awesome. So, and that's in Sandpoint, Idaho.
Yep, Sandpoint, Idaho. So if you're in town, come to the Gardenia Center. It's right in the center of town.
All right. I wish I could be there.
I wish you could too.
I'll be there in spirit, Madelaine.
Yeah.
As will others. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for everyone for being here. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, pop over to Madelaine's page. If you're on mine, if you're on Madelaine's, pop over to mine.
Give us both likes. Give us a like on Amalia's and mine.
That's right. We'd so appreciate it. And we love that you're showing up here and you're part of this with us, because you are the reason that we're doing it. Yeah.
Very grateful that people are watching this. So I'm happy and thankful that they are, and grateful.
Yeah, same. Thank you. All right, everyone. We will see you in a couple weeks with the full moon in Sagittarius, which is crazy to think about.
Is it a full moon?
But yeah, so
Yes,
have
that's right. Yep.
yeah,
Interesting. Okay.
have an awesome new moon in Taurus. Enjoy the spring season, and we will see you all in a couple of weeks. Bye for now, everyone.